The Anthropocene. Does it exist? Does it matter? By Jacob Pauna. The Anthropocene is the name of a proposed new geologic time period, possibly an epoch, that is yet to enter the official geologic timescale. This proposed epoch is defined by humanity's overwhelming influence on the Earth, putting us on the same level as a major geological force. The first article I read, titled The Anthropocene, Are Humans Now Overwhelming the Great Forces of Nature?, more or less lays out a timeline and the periods of time within for the Anthropocene period. Pre-Anthropocene humans were only just beginning to affect the natural world in relatively visible ways, such as the extinction of some species and the domestication of others. It was the industrial period that ushered in the Anthropocene, according to the authors of the article. Specifically, the increasing use of fossil fuels is what has pushed us into the Anthropocene. It is the accumulation of CO2 that serves as a starting point or golden spike for the epoch, and this was around 1800 to 1850. The Great Acceleration began right after World War II, during a long stretch of time with constant growth for human culture, though all this growth was not good. The Earth is in its sixth great extinction event, with rates of species loss growing rapidly for both terrestrial and marine ecosystems. The atmospheric concentrations of several important greenhouse gases have increased substantially, and the Earth is warming rapidly. These two graphs show the rapid rise of fossil fuel use during the Anthropocene, which more or less is humanity's obvious footprint on the world. The exponential character of the Great Acceleration is obvious from our quantification of the human imprint on the Earth system using atmospheric CO2 concentrations as the indicator. The last stage of the Anthropocene, according to the authors, has the possibility of being called the Stewards of the Earth System phase. This period of time is when we as humans must decide how we handle all the encroaching dangers that we have had a major part in causing, whether it be through mitigation, geoengineering, or simply going on as if nothing has changed. Whatever unfolds, the next few decades will surely be a tipping point in the evolution of the Anthropocene. So, why is the Anthropocene such a hotly debated idea? Well, it may not be backed up by the actual determinants of a new era, stratigraphy. So, to determine the Anthropocene's legitimacy, we have to look at the stratigraphy and see if there is overwhelming proof of humans becoming the main moving factor on the Earth. The second article I read, The Stratigraphic Status of the Anthropocene, tried just that. In their research, they encountered a number of problems for defining the epoch stratigraphically, such as the diachronous nature of human impact. Unfortunately, soil fails to meet many of the criteria required for establishing a new stratigraphic point. Despite their lack of evidence in the soil, the authors of this article still feel that the Anthropocene has legitimacy. A specific golden spike is not needed, and defining the Anthropocene lies beyond stratigraphy, they say. The third article I read, Is the Anthropocene an Issue of Stratigraphy or Pop Culture?, also tries to find any trace of the Anthropocene in stratigraphy, while being well aware of the difficulty of such a task. They say, because the strata anticipated by the Anthropocene has not yet fully developed, and it is only currently possible that a recognizable basal boundary separates it from the Holocene epoch, researchers should find difficulty in using this concept in stratigraphic practice. The authors of this article also find a lack of evidence for the Anthropocene in stratigraphy, but don't think that it should be defined through other means like the previous article did. They acknowledge its main goal and the allure of the idea of the Anthropocene, but they still believe that epochs should be determined through tried and true processes rather than through pop culture. A comment is attached to the initial article. This comment focuses on the idea that it is not necessary to seek a boundary stratigraphic marker that reflects the time since anthropogenic change began. They say that the Anthropocene is beyond the confines of stratigraphic research, and the wider scientific community should be addressed. This is a similar idea to the original stratigraphic article that I read. In addition to the comment, there is a reply to the comment by the authors of the article. In this reply, the authors reiterate their point that a new epoch should still be determined by the regular methods, and without evidence, such a thing cannot happen. They cite the code, as being an explicit step when labeling a new epoch. Once again, they say that it is important to look at human effects, but it doesn't mean we have to start a new epoch to do so. My thoughts. In my opinion, the Anthropocene epoch is not necessary for humanity to reflect upon its impact on the Earth. Epochs should continue to be determined by the tried and true methods of stratigraphy. The idea of the Anthropocene is important, and it's necessary, but I feel that it should remain unofficial until there is actual hard evidence in the stratigraphy.